Captain Kim Tae-ho walked slowly across the bridge of the USS Blackstar. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was quiet now, floating in the darkness of space near the edge of the Kepler system. Through the big window at the front of the bridge, he could see millions of stars scattered across the black sky like tiny diamonds. The Blackstar was not like other human ships. She was bigger, stronger, and carried weapons that most people had never seen before. Her hull was dark gray metal, covered with scars from old battles. Some of those scars were deep, but the ship had survived everything thrown at her. The crew was proud of their ship, and she had never let them down. Kim Tae-ho had been the captain for 3 years now. He was 42 years old, with short black hair and serious dark eyes. The other crew members respected him because he always made good decisions even when things got dangerous. He never asked his people to do something he would not do himself. The bridge was the heart of the ship. It had large screens showing information about everything around them. Lights blinked in different colors, and computers made quiet humming sounds. The captain's chair sat in the middle where he could see everything and talk to his crew easily. Park Ji-woo came up to the captain. She was the chief engineer, the person who kept all the ship's systems working. She was 35 years old and very smart about machines. Her hands were always a little dirty from working with tools and parts. She had been fixing things since she was a child back on Earth. "Captain," she said, "the new weapons are finally ready. The graviton torpedoes are working perfectly now. I have been testing them for weeks and everything looks good." Kim Tae-ho nodded. These new weapons were special. They could do things that normal missiles could not do. The scientists on Earth had worked for years to make them, but they had never been used in a real fight before. The Blackstar was the first ship to carry them. "Good work, Park," the captain said. "How long did it take to get them working?" 6 months of changes and fixes, she replied. The power systems needed to be completely rebuilt. We also had to make new cooling systems because the weapons get very hot when they fire. But now they are ready for battle. Lee So-min walked over to join them. She was the tactical officer, responsible for all the ship's weapons and defenses. She was young, only 28, but she was the best shot in the entire human fleet. She could hit targets that other people could not even see. Her job was to figure out the best ways to fight enemy ships. "Captain, I have been studying the reports from our spies," Lee So-min said. "The Vorthak Empire is moving a huge fleet toward the Proxima Corridor. Intelligence thinks they are getting ready for a big attack on our colonies." The Vorthak were aliens who looked like giant insects. They had hard shells instead of skin, and their ships were grown instead of built. They had been fighting humans for 5 years now, trying to take over every planet with human settlements. They thought humans were weak and should be destroyed or made into slaves. "How many ships?" the captain asked. "More than 3,000, Lee So-min answered. "All of them are warships. Some are as big as our space stations." Kim Tae-ho was quiet for a moment. 3,000 enemy ships was more than the entire human fleet put together. The Blackstar was alone out here, far from any help. The nearest human base was 2 weeks away, even at top speed. Choi Min-ho, the communications officer, looked up from his station. He was the one who sent and received all messages for the ship. He had been listening to enemy radio signals, trying to learn what the Vorthak were planning. "Sir, I picked up some of their transmissions," Choi Min-ho said. "They are talking about something they call the final cleansing. They think this will be the battle that destroys all humans in space." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. The Vorthak were not just planning another attack. They wanted to end the war by killing every human they could find. After that, they would probably attack Earth itself. "They think we are easy to defeat," Kim Tae-ho said quietly. "They think humans always run away when things get hard." Nam Soo-jin, the ship's navigator, turned in her chair. She was responsible for flying the ship and plotting courses through space. She was very good at math and could calculate the best routes even during battle. She had been with the captain longer than anyone else on the ship. "Captain, we could try to get back to the main fleet," she said. "If we leave now, we might be able to warn them and help them prepare." Kim Tae-ho shook his head. "By the time we get there, it will be too late. The colonies will be destroyed and millions of people will be dead. We are the only ship in position to do something about this. Oh Dongwu, the weapons chief, stepped forward. He was a big man with strong hands who took care of all the guns and missiles on the ship. He had fought in more battles than anyone else aboard the Blackstar. His job was to make sure every weapon worked perfectly when they needed it. Sir, even with our new weapons, we are just one ship, he said. 3,000 against one is not good odds. Maybe not, the captain replied. But we are not just any ship. We are the Blackstar. And we have something they do not have. What is that, sir? Asked Lee So-min. We have human stubbornness, Kim Tae-ho said with a small smile. We do not give up, even when everyone says we should. That has always been our greatest weapon. Yoon Hana came onto the bridge from the medical section. She was the ship's doctor, responsible for keeping everyone healthy and treating injuries during battles. She was a kind person who cared deeply about every member of the crew. She had heard the conversation about the coming fight. Captain, the crew is ready, she said. Everyone knows what we are facing, and nobody wants to run away. They all believe in this ship and in you. The captain looked around at his officers. These people had been with him through many dangerous missions. They trusted him and he trusted them completely. Together they had faced impossible situations before and always found a way to survive. We have 847 people on this ship, Kim Tae-ho said. Each one of them chose to be here, knowing the dangers. They all signed up to protect human colonies and to fight for what we believe in. He walked to the big window and looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak fleet was getting ready to destroy everything humans had built in space. But they did not know about the Blackstar yet. They did not know what one human ship could do when its crew refused to give up. Park. Make sure all systems are at full power, the captain ordered. Lee, prepare all weapons for combat. Nam, plot a course for the Proxima Corridor. We are going to meet this fleet and show them what humans are really made of. The crew moved quickly to follow his orders. They all knew this would probably be their last battle, but none of them seemed afraid. They had trained for this moment their whole lives. The Blackstar began to turn toward the distant enemy fleet, her engines glowing brighter as they prepared for the fight ahead. Outside, the stars watched silently as one small human ship prepared to face an empire. The space around the Proxima Corridor suddenly filled with ships. They came out of hyperspace like a swarm of metal insects, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. The Vorthak armada was massive beyond imagination. Each ship was at least 10 times bigger than the Blackstar, and there were thousands of them. Admiral Kekthara stood in the command center of his flagship, the Devourer of Worlds. He was 12 feet tall with 6 arms and hard black armor covering his entire body. His eyes glowed red in the darkness of his bridge. He had destroyed 17 different species in his long career, and humans would be the 18th. The Vorthak. Ships did not look like human vessels. They were grown instead of built, created from living metal that could heal itself when damaged. They had no straight lines or smooth surfaces. Instead, they looked like giant sea creatures or insects, with long tentacles and sharp spikes covering their hulls. Some ships had mouths full of metal teeth that could bite through enemy armor. "Report," Admiral Kekthara said in his deep, grinding voice. "All ships have arrived successfully," replied Commander Vextar, his second in command. 3,247 vessels all ready for combat. The human colonies are defenseless before us. The Admiral looked at the tactical display showing the star system ahead. Several human planets appeared as small dots on the screen. Intelligence. Reports said these worlds had millions of human civilians, but very few military ships to protect them. This would be easy. "The humans are a young species," Admiral Kekthara said. "They have only been in space for a few hundred years. They build slow ships with weak weapons. Our victory is certain." Meanwhile, far behind the Vorthak fleet, the USS Blackstar moved through space like a hunting shark. Captain Kim Tae-ho watched the enemy armada on his main screen. The sight was terrifying and magnificent at the same time. He had never seen so many ships in one place. "My God," whispered Lee So-min. "There are so many of them." Sensor readings show 3,247 vessels, reported Nam Soo-jin. The smallest ones are still bigger than our largest battleships. Choi Min-ho was listening to enemy communications. Sir, they are talking about dividing into groups to attack different planets at the same time. They plan to destroy all human settlements in this sector within 1 week. Kim Tae-ho felt anger growing in his chest. These aliens thought they could just fly into human space and murder millions of innocent people. They believed humans would surrender without a fight. They were about to learn how wrong they were. All hands, this is the captain, he said into the ship's communication system. You can all see what we are facing. The enemy thinks we will run away or surrender. They think one human ship cannot stand against their entire fleet. Today, we are going to show them they are wrong. Throughout the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. In the engine room, Park Ji-woo wiped grease from her hands. In the weapons bays, Oh Dong-woo checked the ammunition one more time. In the medical center, Yoon Ha-na prepared for casualties. We are not fighting just for ourselves, the captain continued. We are fighting for every human family on those planets ahead. We are fighting for the idea that no species has the right to destroy another. We are fighting to prove that courage matters more than numbers. The crew began moving with new energy. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. The Blackstar might be outnumbered, but her crew was ready to show the galaxy what human determination could accomplish. Nam, take us in, Kim Tae-ho ordered. Full speed toward the center of their formation. Sir, that will take us right through the middle of their fleet, Nam Soo-jin replied. Exactly, the captain said. Lee, charge all weapon systems. Park, give me maximum power to shields and engines. Oh, prepare the graviton torpedoes for combat. Blackstar began accelerating toward the massive enemy fleet. Her engines burned brighter than they ever had before, pushing the ship faster and faster through space. The crew could feel the vibrations through the deck as every system came online. Admiral Kek Thara noticed the small ship approaching on his sensors. At first he thought it might be a scout vessel trying to escape. Then he realized it was flying directly toward his fleet instead of away from it. What is that small ship doing? He asked. Commander Vextar studied the readings. It appears to be a human warship, Admiral. But there is only one of them. One ship? Admiral Kekthara laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Are the humans so desperate that they send one vessel against our entire armada? This is insulting. Should we destroy it, Admiral? No, Kekthara replied. Let it come closer. I want to capture it and question the crew. I want to know why humans think one ship can make any difference against us. But the Blackstar was not trying to surrender or escape. Captain Kim Tae-ho had spent months planning for this moment. His ship carried experimental weapons that even Earth's high command did not fully understand. More importantly, his crew had something the Vorthak had never encountered before: human creativity under pressure. Enemy ships are beginning to surround us, reported Lee So-min. They are moving slowly, probably trying to capture us instead of destroying us. Perfect, Kim Tae-ho said. That gives us the advantage of surprise. They do not know what we can do. The first Vorthak ships began firing warning shots across the Blackstar's bow. Bright energy beams flashed through space, designed to disable the human vessel without destroying it. But the Blackstar's new shields absorbed the energy and grew stronger. Their weapons are charging our shields instead of damaging them, Park Ji-woo reported with excitement. The new technology is working perfectly. Time to show them what humans can do, the captain said. All weapons, open fire. The USS Blackstar unleashed hell. Her main guns fired streams of superheated plasma that cut through Vorthak armor like paper. The graviton torpedoes created small black holes that pulled enemy ships apart from the inside. Energy beams lanced out in all directions, each one finding its target with perfect accuracy. The nearest Vorthak ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Their living metal hulls could not heal fast enough to repair the damage. Within seconds, dozens of enemy vessels were destroyed or crippled. Admiral Kekthara stared at his tactical display in shock. His sensors showed impossible readings. One small human ship had just destroyed 50 of his vessels in less than a minute. The energy signatures from their weapons were unlike anything in his databases. "How is this possible?" he roared. "No human ship should be able to do this." "Admiral, their weapons are using technology we do not understand," Commander Vextar replied. "Our ship's armor is useless against them." The Blackstar continued its attack, weaving between enemy vessels like a dancer. Nam Su-jin piloted the AO ship with incredible skill, dodging incoming fire while positioning them for perfect attack runs. The crew worked together like parts of a single machine, each person doing their job with perfect timing. "More enemy ships approaching from all sides," Lee So-min announced. "They are trying to surround us completely." "Let them come," Kim Tae-ho replied. "The more ships they send against us, the more we can destroy. Show them what one determined human crew can accomplish." The battle had only just begun, but already the Vorthak fleet was learning a harsh lesson. They had come expecting easy victory over a weak species. Instead, they found themselves fighting for their lives against the deadliest ship they had ever encountered. The Vorthak had never faced anything like the USS Blackstar before. Their empire had conquered dozens of worlds using the same tactics every time: overwhelming force and superior numbers. But humans fought differently. They adapted, improvised, and refused to follow any rules of war the aliens understood. Park Ji-woo worked frantically in the engine room, her hands flying over control panels covered with blinking lights. Months ago, she had made changes to the ship's reactor that no engineer had ever attempted before. She connected the shield generators directly to the main power core, creating a feedback loop that turned defensive energy into offensive weapons. "Captain, I am ready to try the shield conversion," she reported over the communication system. "This has never been tested in combat before. Do it." Kim Tae-ho replied without hesitation. Park pressed a series of buttons, and the Blackstar's shield suddenly changed from blue to brilliant white. Instead of just protecting the ship, the energy field began reaching out toward nearby Vorthak vessels. When it touched their hulls, the alien ships began to shake and crack as their own armor turned against them. "Incredible," whispered Lee So-min as she watched enemy ships tear themselves apart. "Our shields are making their hull plating expand and contract until it breaks." The Vorthak had designed their living metal ships to be nearly indestructible. The biomechanical hulls could repair damage automatically and adapt to different types of weapons. But they had never encountered technology that could turn their greatest strength into a weakness. Admiral Kekthera watched in growing alarm as more of his ships were destroyed. The human vessel seemed to have an answer for every attack his forces tried. When his ships fired energy beams, the humans absorbed the power and used it to strengthen their own weapons. When his vessels tried to ram the enemy ship, it simply disappeared and reappeared somewhere else. "Order all ships to maintain distance," he commanded. "Do not let that human vessel get close to any more of our ships." But Lee So-min had anticipated this move. She had studied Vorthak battle tactics for years, learning how their commanders thought and what they would do in different situations. She knew they would try to use their long-range weapons to destroy the Blackstar from a safe distance. "Captain, they are pulling back to use their big guns," she reported. "But I have an idea." "Tell me," Kim Tae-ho said. "The graviton torpedoes can create temporary wormholes in space," Lee explained. "If we fire them at the right angle, we can redirect their own weapons back at them." "Do it." Lee So-min began launching the special torpedoes in a complex pattern around the Vorthak fleet. Each torpedo created a small hole in space-time that lasted only a few seconds. But those few seconds were enough to catch incoming enemy fire and send it flying back toward the ships that had fired it. The results were spectacular. Vorthak vessels found themselves being hit by their own weapons. Energy beams meant to destroy the Blackstar instead struck other alien ships. Missiles launched at the human vessel curved through the wormholes and exploded against their own fleet. "This is impossible," Admiral Kekthara snarled. "How can one ship do all of this?" Commander Vextar studied the battle data flowing across his screens. "Admiral, I believe the humans are using their creativity to adapt our own weapons against us. Every time we try a new attack, they find a way to turn it into an advantage." The concept of creativity was foreign to the Vorthak. Their entire civilization was based on following established patterns and using proven methods. They built the same ships, used the same weapons, and fought the same way their ancestors had for thousands of years. Innovation was dangerous because it might lead to failure, but humans were different. When faced with a problem they could not solve with existing methods, they invented new ones. When their enemies adapted to their tactics, they changed their tactics. This ability to think in new ways was what had allowed humanity to survive and grow strong despite being a young species. Dongwu was having the time of his life in the Weapons Control Center. He had spent his entire career learning how to use human weapons effectively, but now he was discovering completely new ways to fight. The graviton torpedoes could do things that normal missiles never could. "Captain, I'm going to try something," he announced. "Instead of using the torpedoes to destroy enemy ships, I want to use them to create a chain reaction." "Explain," Kim Tae-ho ordered. "If I detonate them in the right sequence, I can create a series of small wormholes that connect to each other," Oh said. "Any energy that goes into one hole will come out of all the others at the same time." "That sounds extremely dangerous," Yoon Hana commented from the medical bay where she was treating injured crew members. "Dangerous for them, not for us," Oh replied with a grin. Kim Tae-ho made his decision quickly. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." Oh Dongwu began firing torpedoes in a carefully calculated pattern throughout the enemy fleet. Each one created a wormhole that connected to all the others, forming an invisible network of space-time tunnels. When the system was complete, he fired one more torpedo directly at the Vorthak flagship. The torpedo entered the wormhole network and emerged from dozens of different points simultaneously. Admiral Kekathara watched in horror as the same weapon appeared to hit his ship from every direction at once. The explosion was magnified by the connected wormholes, creating a blast powerful enough to damage ships that were millions of kilometers away. "All vessels, retreat to minimum safe distance," the admiral ordered, but it was too late. The chain reaction had already begun spreading through his fleet, destroying ships faster than he could count them. Nam Soo-jin piloted the Blackstar through the chaos with incredible skill. She had learned to read the flow of battle like a sailor, reading ocean currents, anticipating where the enemy would move before they knew it themselves. When Vorthak's ships tried to escape the wormhole network, she was already there waiting for them. "Enemy reinforcements approaching from the rear," she reported. 200 fresh ships trying to trap us between two groups." "Perfect," Kim Tae-ho said. "Lee, target the ships behind us. Nam, fly us straight toward the reinforcements." "Sir, that will put us between both enemy groups," Nam pointed out. "Exactly where I want to be," the captain replied. "They will not risk firing at each other to hit us." The Blackstar accelerated toward the reinforcement fleet, her weapons blazing in all directions. The fresh Vorthak ships had not yet seen what the human vessel could do, and they made the same mistakes as their comrades. They tried to capture, instead of destroy, giving the Blackstar time to demonstrate her deadly capabilities. Choi Min-ho was monitoring enemy communications when he heard something interesting. "Captain, I am picking up panic in their transmissions. They are calling the Blackstar the ghost ship because we keep appearing in places where we should not be able to go." "Good," Kim Tae-ho said. "Fear will make them make more mistakes." But the captain knew they could not keep this up forever. The Blackstar was taking damage despite her advanced shields and armor. More importantly, his crew was getting tired. They had been fighting for hours without a break, and even the best human reflexes would slow down eventually. "Park, how are our systems holding up?" he asked. "The reactor is running at 120% of normal capacity," she replied. "The graviton torpedo launchers are overheating, and we have used 60% of our ammunition." Kim Tae-ho looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed over 800 enemy ships, but there were still more than 2,000 left. The odds were still impossible, but something had changed. The Vorthak were no longer attacking with confidence. They were afraid. "All hands, prepare for the final phase," he announced to his crew. "We have shown them that humans do not surrender. Now we show them what we are truly capable of when we have nothing left to lose." Admiral Kekathara could not believe what his sensors were showing him. In 6 hours of battle, One human ship had destroyed nearly a third of his mighty armada. His perfectly organized fleet was now scattered across space, with captains afraid to get close to the deadly human vessel. "Admiral, our losses are unacceptable," Commander Vextar reported. 847 ships destroyed, over 300 more badly damaged. The other vessels are requesting permission to withdraw. "Withdraw?" Admiral Kekthara's voice was full of rage. "We are the Vorthak Empire. We do not retreat from inferior species. Send in the heavy assault ships. Crush that human vessel with overwhelming force." But even as he gave the order, doubt crept into the Admiral's mind. Everything he knew about warfare said this battle should have been over in minutes. The humans should have surrendered or been destroyed immediately. Instead, they were fighting, like nothing he had ever seen before. The Vorthak had conquered the galaxy by following simple rules: use superior numbers, overwhelming firepower, and proven tactics that had worked for thousands of years. But the humans seemed to make up new rules as they fought, adapting to each situation with creativity that the Admiral found disturbing. On the bridge of the Blackstar, Captain Kim Tae-ho watched the massive enemy reinforcements approaching. These new ships were even bigger than the others, built specifically for destroying heavily defended targets. They carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the explosion of stars. "Sir, those are Vorthak dreadnoughts," Lee So-min reported, her voice tight with concern. "Each one has more firepower than our entire home fleet." "How many?" Kim Tae-ho asked. 50 ships, all heading directly for us." The captain looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. They were tired, dirty, and some were injured, but none of them looked ready to give up. These people had followed him through impossible battles before, and they trusted him to find a way through this one. "Park, what is the status of our experimental systems?" he asked. "The shield conversion system is working perfectly, but it is putting enormous strain on the reactor," Park Ji-woo replied. "The graviton torpedo system is overheating. We have maybe 20 more shots before it shuts down completely." "Oh, how much regular ammunition do we have left?" Oh, Dongwoo checked his displays. 40% of plasma charges, 30% of conventional missiles. We could fight for maybe another hour at normal intensity. Nam Soo-jin looked up from her navigation console. "Captain, I have been analyzing their movement patterns. The dreadnoughts are trying to surround us in a sphere formation. Once they complete it, we will not be able to escape." Kim Tae-ho nodded. This was exactly the kind of tactical problem he had trained for his entire life. The enemy was using their advantage in numbers to limit his options. But humans had always been good at finding solutions when there seemed to be no way out. "Choi, send a message on all frequencies," the captain ordered. "I want every ship in this system to hear it." "Yes, sir. Channel open." Kim Tae-ho stood up from his command chair and spoke in a clear, strong voice. "This is Captain Kim Tae-ho of the USS Blackstar. We are 847 human beings facing an empire that thinks we are weak. They came here to destroy our colonies and murder our families. They believed we would surrender without a fight." Throughout the Vorthak fleet, alien commanders listened to the transmission with confusion. Why was this human wasting time with words when he should be trying to escape? "We have shown you that humans do not surrender," the captain continued. "We have shown you that courage and determination are more powerful than numbers. But now we will show you something else. We will show you what happens when you threaten everything we love." Admiral Kekathara laughed at the human's words. "Empty. Threats from a doomed species, all ships, close formation and destroy them." The 50 dreadnoughts began moving into their final attack positions. Each one was the size of a small city, covered with weapons and armor thick enough to withstand nuclear explosions. Their commanders were confident that even this incredible human ship could not survive what they were about to unleash. But Kim Tae-ho had one more surprise for them. "Park, remember those modifications you wanted to make to the reactor core?" he asked. "The ones that Earth Command said were too dangerous to attempt?" Park Ji-woo's eyes went wide. "Sir, those modifications could destroy the ship, the reactor. Feedback could tear us apart. Or it could give us enough power to level the playing field," the captain replied. "Can you do it?" Park hesitated for only a moment. "Give me 5 minutes." She ran from the bridge toward the engine room, her mind already working through the complex calculations needed to rebuild the ship's power system during combat. The other officers watched her go, knowing that their lives now depended on her ability to perform a miracle. "Lee, target all enemy dreadnoughts," Kim Tae-ho ordered. "Oh, prepare every weapon we have left. Nam, plot a course that takes us through the center of their formation." "Sir, that course will put us in range of all 50 ships at the same time," Nam Soo-jin pointed out. "I know," the captain said calmly. In the engine room, Park Ji-woo worked faster than she ever had in her life. She ripped apart control panels and rewired power conduits with her bare hands, ignoring the burns from overloaded circuits. The modifications she was making had never been tested because computer simulations said they would either fail completely or destroy the ship. But Park knew her ship better than any computer. She had built and rebuilt these systems dozens of times. She understood how every component worked and how they could be pushed beyond their design limits. If anyone could make this work, it was her. "Captain, the dreadnoughts are in position," Lee So-min reported. "They are charging their main weapons." "Park, how much longer?" Kim Tae-ho called over the communication system. 30 seconds, came the reply from the engine room. The first energy beams from the dreadnoughts lit up space around the Blackstar. Each blast was powerful enough to destroy a normal ship completely, but the Blackstar's shields held. The experimental shield conversion system absorbed the energy and fed it back into the ship's weapons. "Park, now would be good," the captain said, as more enemy fire pounded their defenses. "Reactor modifications complete," Park announced. "New power level available on your command." Kim Tae-ho took a deep breath. "All hands, brace for maximum power. Lee, fire everything we have. Oh, launch all remaining torpedoes. Nam, full speed." Toward the enemy flagship. The USS Blackstar suddenly blazed with light brighter than a star. Her weapons fired with power levels that should have been impossible for a ship her size. Graviton torpedoes streaked toward enemy vessels while plasma beams cut through space like swords of pure energy. The effect on the Vorthak dreadnoughts was devastating. These mighty ships, designed to be unstoppable weapons of war, began exploding, like fireworks. Their thick armor meant nothing against weapons powered by an overloaded reactor core. Their advanced shields collapsed under the assault from modified human technology. Admiral Kekathara watched in disbelief as his most powerful ships were destroyed one after another. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No ship can generate that much power without destroying itself." But even as he spoke, he could see that the human ship was taking terrible damage from its own weapons. Energy discharges sparked along its hull, and parts of its armor were beginning to glow red-hot from internal heat. The Blackstar was dying, but she was taking the entire Vorthak fleet with her. The USS Blackstar was dying. Sparks flew from damaged control panels on the bridge, and the lights flickered as power systems struggled to keep working. The ship's hull had dozens of holes in it, and atmosphere was leaking into space. But Captain Kim Tae-ho and his crew were not finished yet. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, Yoon Hana reported from the medical bay. "We have lost life support in the forward sections. I am treating 37 injured crew members, but everyone is still fighting." Park Ji-woo's voice came over the communication system, strained but determined. "Captain, the reactor core is at critical levels. The modifications are holding, but barely. We maybe have 10 minutes before complete system failure." Kim Tae-ho looked at the tactical display. The Blackstar had destroyed over 1,500 enemy ships, but there were still more than 1,000 left. More importantly, Admiral Kekathara's flagship, the massive Devourer of Worlds, was still intact and heavily defended. "Lee, can we target their command ship?" the captain asked. Lee So-min studied her weapons display. "Sir, it is surrounded by their remaining dreadnoughts. They are using the other ships as shields. I cannot get a clear shot with our main guns." "Then we make our own clear shot," Kim Tae-ho decided. "Nam, plot a collision course with the flagship." Nam Soo-jin's hands froze over her controls. "Sir, a collision course means—" "I know what it means," the captain said quietly. But that ship is the heart of their fleet. If we destroy it, the others will retreat. The colonies will be safe. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone understood what their captain was asking them to do. This would not be a battle they could walk away from. This would be their final act, their last chance to protect the innocent people on the human worlds behind them. Oh, Dongwu looked up from his weapons console. Captain, if we are going to do this, I want to overload every weapon we have left. When we hit that flagship, I want to make sure it stays dead. Do it. Kim Tae-ho approved. Choi Min-ho turned from his communication station. Sir, should I send a final message to Earth Command? The captain thought for a moment. Send this message on all frequencies, so every species in the galaxy can hear it. We came in peace, but you brought us war. Remember the name USS Blackstar. Remember what happens when you underestimate human determination. Throughout the ship, the crew prepared for their final mission. In the engine room, Park Ji-woo pushed the reactor even further beyond safe limits, knowing that the extra power would help their weapons punch through the enemy flagship's defenses. She had spent her whole life working with machines, and now she was asking them to die with her. In the weapons bays, Oh Dong-woo set every remaining missile and torpedo to detonate simultaneously when they hit the target. The explosion would be powerful enough to destroy several ships at once. His hands moved steadily over the controls, even though he knew he would not survive to see the results of his work. In the medical bay, Yoon Hana helped the wounded crew members reach escape pods, even though she knew the pods would probably be destroyed before they could get to safety. She was a doctor, and her job was to save lives until the very end. On the bridge, Nam Soo-jin calculated the perfect approach vector to the enemy flagship. She had been flying ships since she was 18 years old, and this would be her masterpiece. The course she plotted would take the Blackstar through the heaviest enemy fire, but it would also ensure they hit their target at exactly the right angle. Admiral Kekthara watched the human ship turn toward his flagship with growing alarm. His sensors showed that the Blackstar was heavily damaged and should have been destroyed already, but it kept coming. The humans seemed incapable of knowing when they were beaten. All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel, he ordered. Destroy it before it can reach us. Every remaining Vorthak ship opened fire at the same time. Hundreds of energy beams and thousands of missiles streaked toward the Blackstar, but the human ship seemed to have a charmed life. Nam Soo-jin piloted her through the deadly barrage like a dancer, using the explosions and debris from destroyed enemy ships to hide their approach. Enemy fire increasing, Lee So-min reported as the ship shook from near misses. They are throwing everything they have at us. Shields down to 20%, Park announced. But the weapons are charged and ready. The Blackstar accelerated toward the Devourer of Worlds, dodging between the protective dreadnoughts that tried to block her path. The enemy flagship grew larger and larger on the main screen until it filled their entire view. Kim Tae-ho could see the surprised faces of Vorthak crew members through the transparent sections of the alien ship's hull. All weapons, fire at will, the captain ordered. The dying human ship unleashed everything she had left. Plasma beams, graviton torpedoes, conventional missiles, and even the ship's point defense guns all fired at once. The combined barrage tore through the flagship's shields and began ripping apart its hull. Admiral Kekthara felt his ship shaking as the human weapons found their mark. Damage report, he demanded. Multiple hull breaches, sir, Commander Vextar replied. They have destroyed our main engines and half of our weapon systems, but their ship is almost dead. They cannot survive much longer. The Admiral looked at the tactical display showing the approaching human vessel. It was leaking atmosphere and debris, its hull glowing red-hot from internal fires. Any rational commander would have surrendered by now, but these humans kept fighting, even as their ship fell apart around them. Why do they not give up? He wondered aloud. Because they are human, Commander Vextar answered, finally beginning to understand. They do not fight to win. They fight to protect what they love. On the Blackstar's bridge, Kim Tae-ho felt the deck plates growing hot beneath his feet as the overloaded reactor began to lose containment. Warning lights flashed red all around him, and the computer kept announcing system failures. But his Crews stayed at their posts, determined to complete their mission. Impact in 30 seconds, Nam Soo-jin announced. Park, can you give us one more power surge? The captain asked. I can try, but the reactor will go critical immediately afterward, Park replied. Do it. The Blackstar suddenly blazed with light. One last time as Park Ji-woo released every bit of energy the dying reactor could produce. The surge powered the weapons, the shields, and the engines simultaneously, giving the ship a final burst of incredible speed. 20 seconds to impact, Nam called out. Kim Tae-ho looked around at his officers one final time. These brave people had followed him to the end of the galaxy and beyond. They had faced impossible odds and never backed down. He was proud to serve with them. It has been an honor, he said simply. Yoon Hana reached over and took his hand. The honor was ours, Captain. The USS Blackstar struck the Devourer of Worlds at nearly the speed of light. The collision released energy equal to a small star exploding. The overloaded reactor core added to the destruction, creating a chain reaction that spread throughout both ships. Admiral Kekthara had just enough time to feel respect for his human enemies before everything disappeared in brilliant light. The explosion was visible from thousands of kilometers away. A new star born from the sacrifice of 847 humans who refused to surrender. The explosion of the USS Blackstar and the Vorthak flagship lit up space for millions of kilometers. When the light finally faded, a massive field of wreckage floated where two mighty ships had once been. Twisted metal, broken hull plates, and glowing debris drifted slowly through the vacuum, all that remained of the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. The surviving Vorthak ships hung motionless in space, their crews staring at the destruction in shock. Admiral Kekthara was dead, along with his entire command staff. The Devourer of Worlds, their most powerful vessel, had been completely destroyed. Nearly 2,000 ships of their great armada were now nothing but scrap metal and memories. Commander Vextar, now the senior officer of the remaining fleet, tried to understand what had happened. His species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years by crushing anyone who opposed them. They had destroyed entire civilizations without losing a single major battle. But 847 humans in one dying ship had just shattered their most powerful fleet. All ships, this is Commander Vextar, he broadcast to the surviving vessels. Withdraw to minimum safe distance. We need time to assess our losses and decide what to do next. But many of the Vorthak captains were already making their own decisions. Ships began disappearing into hyperspace, fleeing back toward their home worlds. The crews had seen something that day that terrified them more than any weapon. They had seen an enemy that would rather die than surrender. 3 weeks later, the first human rescue ships arrived at the battle site. Captain Sarah Chen of the USS Recovery led a small fleet of search vessels, hoping to find survivors from the Blackstar. But as her ships approached the wreckage field, she realized the true scale of what had happened here. My God, she whispered, looking at the debris scattered across millions of cubic kilometers of space. How many ships were destroyed here? Her tactical officer ran sensor scans of the area. Captain, I am reading wreckage from at least 2,000 vessels. Most of it appears to be Vorthak in origin, but there are human components as well. Any life signs? No, ma'am. Nothing could have survived that explosion. Captain Chen ordered her ships to search carefully through the wreckage, looking for any trace of the Blackstar's crew. They found pieces of the ship's hull with her name still visible, weapons components that had been twisted into impossible shapes by the blast, and personal items that had belonged to the brave men and women who died here. In the center of the debris field, they discovered something remarkable. The blast had fused metal from both fleets into a strange sculpture that looked almost like a monument. Human and Vorthak materials were mixed together, creating something new and beautiful from the destruction of war. Captain, we are receiving a transmission, the communications officer reported. It appears to be an automated message from the Blackstar's emergency beacon. Put it on the main screen. The image of Captain Kim Tae-ho appeared, recorded just before the final battle. He looked tired but determined, his uniform torn and dirty from hours of combat. Behind him, the bridge of the Blackstar showed the damage from their impossible fight. "This is Captain Kim Tae-ho of the USS Blackstar," the recording began. "If you are receiving this message, it means we did not survive our mission. We faced a Vorthak armada of over 3,000 ships with only 847 crew members. The odds were impossible, but we could not let them reach the colonies." The captain paused, looking directly into the camera. "We want everyone to know that we fought not out of hatred but out of love. Love for our families, our friends, and our fellow humans. We chose to stand against the darkness so that others could live in the light. The crew of the Blackstar died as they lived, with courage, honor, and determination. We proved that humans will never surrender to tyranny, no matter how powerful our enemies think they are. Remember us not as victims, but as people who chose to make a difference when it mattered most." The message ended, leaving the rescue fleet in stunned silence. Captain Chen wiped tears from her eyes as she realized what these brave people had accomplished. One ship against an empire, and somehow they had won. News of the Battle of Kepler spread quickly throughout human space and beyond. The sacrifice of the Blackstar's crew became legendary, inspiring millions of people across dozens of worlds. Children learned their names in school, and new ships were named in their honor. But the story's impact reached far beyond humanity. Other alien species that had remained neutral in the war between humans and Vorthak suddenly began to reconsider their positions. The Zephyrian Council, the Stellar Federation, and even the mysterious Voidwalkers sent messages of support to Earth. "The humans have shown us what true courage looks like," declared Prime Minister Kaldar of the Zephyrian Council. "Any species that fights with such determination deserves our respect and friendship." The Vorthak Empire, meanwhile, was in chaos. The loss of their most powerful fleet had shaken their confidence completely. Worlds that had been conquered generations ago began to rebel, inspired by the example of human resistance. The empire that had ruled through fear suddenly found itself fighting for survival. Commander Vexitar, now promoted to admiral, tried to reorganize what remained of the Vorthak military. But he could not forget what he had witnessed at Kepler. Every time his forces encountered human ships, his crews remembered the Blackstar and hesitated just long enough to lose their advantage. "The humans have infected us with doubt," he admitted to his staff during a strategy meeting. "Our warriors no longer believe we are invincible. How do we fight an enemy that has already defeated us psychologically?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A group of younger Vorthak officers, led by Commander Tashavel, approached the admiral with a radical proposal. "Sir, perhaps it is time to consider that conquest is not the only path to survival," Tashavel suggested. "The humans have shown us that there is strength in protecting others rather than destroying them. Maybe we could learn from their example." Admiral Vexitar was quiet for a long time. Everything his species had believed for thousands of years was being challenged by the memory of 847 humans who had chosen death over surrender. "Contact the human government," he finally ordered. "Tell them we wish to discuss terms for ending this war." The wreckage field at Kepler became a protected memorial site, visited by ships from dozens of species. A marker was placed at the center, made from metal, recovered from both the Blackstar and the Devourer of Worlds. The inscription was simple, but powerful. "Here lie 847 humans who prove that courage is stronger than fear, that determination is mightier than numbers, and that love is more powerful than hate. They entered the war as defenders. They left only wreckage behind, but in that wreckage they also left hope for a better galaxy." Years later, when peace had finally come to the galaxy, Captain Kim Tae-ho's final log entry was found in the Blackstar's emergency data core. It had survived the explosion, protected by layers of armor and shielding that had been added specifically to preserve the ship's records. "We were 847 humans against an empire," he had written. "They thought that would be enough to defeat us. They were wrong. Humanity endures not because we are the strongest or the smartest, but because we refuse to surrender what makes us human, our compassion, our creativity, and our determination to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders, but it is also full of darkness. Today we chose to be a light in that darkness. We chose to prove that some things are worth dying for. We chose to show that humanity will never bow to tyranny, no matter what the cost. Remember the Blackstar. Remember what we stood for. And never let the light go out. The USS Blackstar had entered the war as one ship among thousands. But her crew's sacrifice had changed the galaxy forever, proving that the greatest victories come not from superior weapons or overwhelming numbers, but from the courage to do what is right, no matter the odds.